Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to talk about a very good topic actually for the beginning of 2026, which is it still worth it to become cabin crew? First of all, I would like to hope that everything went well for the last year for you guys. For those who were hopeful, some of you already made it, so congratulations. And for those who didn't, it's actually not an accident that you clicked onto this video. Why? Because maybe in your heart you really wanted to become a cabin crew, but something in you is saying that maybe I should just stop. So watch this video and it will be, of course, for you to decide as to whether it's still worth it to become cabin crew or not. So first things first, I would like to tell you that being a cabin crew is a very big decision. Nowadays, there are a lot of people who are just applying for jobs and then just leaving the jobs, or in short, they're abandoning the jobs. So it's not actually really good for the person because, for your information, we do have bonds as cabin crew just like in other companies, but the training bonds in some of the companies are not as high as what we do have here in the airlines, because of course they're going to provide us with a lot of materials and of course trainings that you could have paid for outside, but they're providing it to you for free technically, but you have to work for the company for a certain period of time. So it's a sad thought, to be honest, like seeing people joining and then just leaving after a couple of, I don't know, months, which is, I don't know, maybe this video can actually help you also if you are still deciding onto whether you would like to become a cabin crew or not. So as I said, it is a decision. Nobody is forcing anyone to become a cabin crew. A cabin crew job is actually very difficult. It's not an easy task. I can do a separate video of what should you expect on becoming a cabin crew, like the pros and the cons. But for now, I would just like to focus on um, possible reasons why you would like to consider continuing with your cabin crew journey or stop it from there. Of course, it will be your decision. I reiterate that fact because nobody is forcing anyone to become a cabin crew. It's not like, for example, in any type of jobs wherein anyone can just go. There are always rigid of interviews, and then after that, examinations, medical examinations, and then personal interviews, peers, groups. There's a lot of layers so that you can decide as to whether you really want the job or not. Actually, some of the airlines do give their cabin crew, I'm not gonna mention the name of the airline, they give them some days after the training to decide as to whether they would like to continue or not, because I am telling you that this job is not for the weak. There are a lot of challenges basically. So if you have already decided and you have tried, failed, and then question yourself, the next thing that you would like to want to know, or if you're considering it coming from a different field, is of course the pay. There are a lot of remote jobs out there. The times have actually changed. It's not like before. So when it comes to pay, it depends on the airline that you are entering. So you must know where are you getting yourself into. I have actually a separate video about that, but that was a few years ago, but at least you have an idea. So there are differences in the airlines, which I will discuss later, and you really have to take note on that so that you don't have um, a weird expectation of the job. So that being said, if for example you want to become a cabin crew, but your main reason for doing is because you want a higher pay, then you really need to push for the international airlines with full service, because it will not really make sense. Like, for example, you went onto a domestic airline, and then of course you have a lower pay, you don't have night stops and all that. So later, of course, I can give you a little bit of an idea regarding that. Number two is benefits. So for the benefits, of course, it's still about the travels for yourself, for your family, for your boyfriend, whatnot. But mind you that different airlines actually do have different, we call it ID90 benefits. So I just learned that some of the airlines are not as generous as the other. So yeah, I signed a non-disclosure agreement, so I can really give a lot of information regarding to salary benefits and all of that. But what I would say is that some airlines are very generous. The one that I know, for example, if you're foreigners, they give you 6 confirmed tickets to go home, which is called home pass. So some airlines don't. They only give you 1 confirmed ticket a year. So the rest will be based on luck, ID90, as to whether you'll be able to take the flight or not. There's also benefits like ID90 for your friends and your family. And some airlines actually are very cheap on that. I'm sorry, I mean, but of course they give you higher pay, but not much on the benefits, travel benefits. So you just have to weigh where you actually want to apply or where you want to join. And then thirdly is actually accommodation. So this one I can tackle more the differences, because I think the reason why there's a lot of turnovers now, like, even it's not just a generation thing. Maybe are not informed, I don't know, but at least we can lessen that if we will open the communication and fill the gaps. So I will try to give you an overview of international airlines, domestic airlines, full service airlines, and low cost airlines. What is important to highlight is the difference of the full service and the low cost airline. A concrete example, you are in a full service airline, so the basic pay is higher, but you have low hours. It just so happened, for example, that the aircraft did not arrive as expected. So the hours of the crew, since they don't have a job, is little. So you have this much of basic, but you have this much of um, flying hours. So you earn like this. As to what compared, for example, to the other airline, which has this basic pay, but they're flying a lot because they're good. Of course, there are the good ones wherein they have good planning, maybe. So the pay is almost standardized, like every month. So you can ask for your friends about that. Don't just go because, for example, oh, the basic pay. That's why they always say this is an estimate, because it's not sure. If, for example, you're always sick, I know someone like that. They're going to the airline. Actually, the airline is losing money for this kind of people. They're always sick, so they give them the basic pay, which actually smart though. Like, they earn the basic pay and then they don't really work, and then they just travel and all that, and then that's it. So, but it's up to you. Again, it will be up to you. So full service, on the other hand, it's a little bit more labor intensive, but of course you will learn more. They have more refined service. It's a little bit tiring, but of course it's still worth it to go there. Um, One of the key differences I can say is that they do have solo rooms as to compared to low cost, for example, which has sharing rooms. So with regards to this, um, I've been to both. So there are pros and cons actually. Of course, it's best to have a solo room because you will have your own privacy and all that. But there's also good things in sharing room, especially if you don't like staying alone. Because some crew also do that. Like they go on layovers and then they go with their friends. Like they can't just stay alone in the room. They're scared. So there are pros and cons with that, but you have to take note on that. And then this is the part wherein I think there's a lot of misunderstanding. There are full service airlines, for example, that I would like to give. Philippine Airlines is a full service airline, but they are separated into two: Philippine Airlines and PAL Express. Philippine Airlines is catering for the medium to long haul, like they're going to the US and all that. So it means they have layovers. PAL Express is handling the Bombardier. I'm not sure if it's still the same, but last time I checked, it was like that. So it means they're doing the Boracay, the Inter Islands. So you can see the differences in pay. For example, in those two, you don't have any allowances if you don't have any layovers. So technically, your salary will be lower in PAL Express as to compare to PAL. Is it necessarily, for example, in a one person compared to the other person? No. If it's, for example, you're in PAL-X, but then you flew 100 hours, let's just say, as compared to a person who was sick the whole month. So she will just receive the basic pay. Something to this. Same to us here in AirAsia as of the moment, but we actually do have news of merging, but not yet. So when you join AirAsia, perhaps just like when I joined AirAsia Malaysia, we were informed, of course, of the routes and the expectations. I don't know if some people just didn't hear it, but it's catering international and domestic, yes, because here technically this is what I'm saying, that if you join the airlines, your perspective will be all different. Your horizon will be very far and wide. um, from Malaysia, from Kuala Lumpur, Singapore is only 1 hour, but technically an international flight. Just to compare it to, for example, you're going to Tawau, it's a domestic flight, but it take 2-3 hours, but it's a domestic flight. So it's an issue of immigration and not really like what we think international. Not all international can be far. Like I can just take a bus to go to Singapore actually, because technically they were part of Malaysia before. That's a different story. So we were informed about that, and then of course we do have some night stops also or layovers, but not as much as AirAsia X. So now I am in AirAsia X. So we are handling the medium haul. We don't have long hauls. So the longest route so far is going to Turkey at 11 hours, but that's it. So of course, it's a matter of, this is a company, so they have to have profit as much as we wanted to bring back the glory days of cabin crew life. It's not going to be possible anymore because they need to make money. Before they just get like spend all the money and all that, but now it's a business, so they have to make money and make profits. So as much as possible, no airline would like to have a night stop because it gives a lot of cost. It will cost you to have a hotel. It will cost you to pay the people, the per diem, and all that. But because of the legalities, like for example, in a normal job, I think it's humane to work for 12 hours. Less is preferable, but let's just say we can stretch up to 12 hours of duty. Same goes to the airlines. So, for example, here coming from Malaysia, it's another geography class. If you're coming from here to go to Japan, it will take like 7 to 9 hours. It depends on the head or tailwind. But if you're coming from Philippines, for example, to go to Japan is just 4 hours. So it's always a turnaround from Philippines. But coming from Malaysia, we cannot do a turnaround because 7 plus 7 is already 14 hours, and it's not going to be approved by the civil aviation anymore. That's why the airlines forced for you to do a night stop. You have more allowance when you're doing night stops as to compare for the turnarounds, wherein you'll just go there, come back, go there, come back, and then go to your home. They don't need to pay you for your house or whatnot. So that's one of the differences. And of course, I think if you want to consider, for example, around here in the area, and of course, we don't compare to the US anymore because they have a different kind of I don't know, like cabin crew life there. It's different as to compare to Asia. Asia still looks at airlines like more prestigious and all that. But of course, it's a different level when you go to Middle East. So if you're considering to fly here in the area, it's still good, but they don't provide for accommodation. So for example, as to whether, I don't know, Singapore Airlines, Cathay, I think they're providing for some foreigners at a limited time. It depends on the offer. That's why you have to ask them regarding their offer. Here in Malaysia also, and in Philippines, they don't provide for accommodations. Only the big four or the Middle East, and yeah, the Middle East airlines basically, because it's like you're moving your life there. It's very difficult, so that's why they have to pay for you. It's a big factor also, because if you have to pay for your accommodation, and then as I mentioned already, that the pay is dependent on your flying hours. If, for example, another COVID lockdown or whatever will happen, your money will just go to paying the rent. So that's a fact. I think this 2026, I learned that you have to decide on what you really want. Of course, you have to research on things like, so now I give you some of the information, but it's still up to you. So I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. I'm not sugarcoating anything as to whether you want to become a cabin crew or whatever you want in life. I will have to tell you that it's either you have it or you don't have it, because you do it or you don't do it. So every one of us experiences setbacks. Like I just experienced a lot of setbacks last 2025, but it will not stop me from still being great this 2026. Like you have to move forward and you have to know what you want. Actually, this is a good vlog, I think, like for the start of the year, because it's a mental reset. You know, you might have failed last year, the year before that, the year before that, year before that, but that's all in the past. If you know how to number your days right, if you're aware of it, that's why I love New Year's, because for New Year's, I know that time is just time. It's just passing. It actually doesn't have like time, start, stop, and or stop, and then pause, and then that's it. But a new year is like a mental reset, and it allows you to, of course, we wanted to end it and be thankful for the life that you have for the previous year, but also to come back stronger on the next year. So if you, as I said, if you are not, it's because you didn't or you don't. Because nowadays everything is possible. Imagine a lot of things unimaginable before are happening right now. So whatever you want to do in your life is possible. You just have to believe that it is, and you have to work for it. On the other end, of course, still some few things wherein it's uncontrollable. So, for example, I'm not gonna beat around the bush anymore. You want to become a cabin crew, but you are for 11. So you know to yourself that it's not possible. So maybe you can just make fun of it, like, I really want to become a cabin crew, but maybe next life when I grow taller. There are thresholds. Thresholds are good. Like, I cannot become a supermodel. Like, if I want to, I can be, but my height is just 5'3". You look like a midget on the stage. So that one you just have to accept. But there are things that you can change, right? So, for example, you're a bit on the heavier side, work out. Or you think that you are not aesthetically pleasing enough, do everything that you can in your power to get something that you really, really want. If you really, really want it, that's a difference. I think the most important takeaway for this video is that you have to know what you really want. First, you have to know the specifics. Like, these are some of the things that you can consider as to whether you want to continue your cabin crew journey or not. And then decide upon yourself if you want it, and just go for it. Just like everything else in life, whatever you want, you can achieve. So thank you very much for watching the vlog. I hope that you have a prosperous year ahead, full of blessings and love.